Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna check another tips and builds, but before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, today we're gonna check Critical Red. Critical Red is similar to Critical Green, but there's some things to take into consideration. So, let's see. Number one, Critical Red doesn't have as many options as Critical Green, but there are some. So if I'm not mistaken, yes. There are two SR supporters, well, three if you count Homura, but Homura is generally good. Three SR supporters that are going to affect Critical Red, and it's first of all Rinka. She's going to give you critical rate for melee attacks that goes up to 14%, which is appreciated in Red, trust me. We also have Faust. Faust is going to give you critical rate for range attacks, and it goes up to 14%. Both of these are good at the start of the game. That's about it. They are not good later in the game, but you want them at the beginning of the game. So, Critical Red revolves around having usually two supporters that give you damage and one supporter that gives you critical rate. The thing is that in green we have Suruga, and Suruga gives you critical rate and critical damage, and that gives consistency to your strategy. We don't have something like that. I mean, I guess we kind of do. Let me check. If I'm not mistaken, yes, critical rate of suppressed type characters and increased damage to debuffed enemies. This is the most similar thing we have, but it's restrictive, unfortunately, and it's limited also. So, yeah. It's a shame that we don't have that many options for critical, but critical rate and damage increase at the same time, but it is what it is. So let's start with Spica. Spica is similar to Juno. She's going to give you invincibility. You want to use her on the active, but her effects are kind of weird. In the main passive, it says increase critical rate of melee attacks by 16% and increase critical damage of range attacks by 32%. Unfortunately, this is not synergistic because it increases the critical rate for one kind of attack and the damage for another one. I don't like that, but it's usable nonetheless. And it's especially good on mixed attackers like Lina, so if you want to use this, it is pretty good. And of course, the main appeal of this support is actually using the invincibility. So if you want to use that, that's an option. Let's see. You can always equip generic damage increase supporters, yes, but we're gonna focus only on critical ones right now. Another one, super important, is Vareta. Vareta is going to increase damage dealt to all enemies by 20%. It is not that big of a number, but it also increases critical damage of all attacks by 30%, and that's pretty good. It has other effects on the active, but they don't matter. They are extra passives, but you don't want to use those. Let's see. After Vareta, we have Armored Kurenai. Armored Kurenai is going to reduce the duration of all debuffs onto herself, and each critical hit deals an additional 40% of the damage, and a stun attack is applied every 5 seconds. So yeah, this one, number one, is limited, so it's not that common. Number two, it does give a chunky critical damage increase, but think about this. You're getting more value in the damage department with Vareta, but it has the reduction on debuffs, which is nice. And the stun is only going to be good if you always crit and do a ton, and I mean a ton of multi hits and a big combo. Like a character that abuses this would be Emily, and maybe, I don't know who else could it be. Rin, Momochi Nagi, yes. So those are characters that you can use with her. Let's see. This one, no, this is only melee. This one, as I said, is good, but most people don't have this because it's a character release supporter. Fortunately, they're going to give this, or well, I assume because they already did once, they're going to give this in the upcoming character packs, which is a good thing. And this unfortunately is restrictive, but the activation condition for the damage increase is super easy to reach. So let's see. I guess it's 25 at max for both sides of the for both effects. So it is a good supporter. Let's see. We also have. Oh yes, Aneros. Aneros is very very good, but she's also restrictive. But she's really nice. She increases the critical rate by 30% of demon characters, and also increases HP by 30% of demon characters. The critical rate is already nice, but HP too. This is like Alefria, but better. So that's kind of her thing. And she also has an extra passive if you have her on the main that gives you a chance to restore HP. That's very valuable. You want to use this on characters who want to be a little bit more tanky and also want to guarantee the crits on their red skills. Like, for example, Felicia. Let's see. Then, who else do we have? Oh, yeah. Evil Flower Asuka. Evil Flower Asuka is going to increase the critical rate of range attacks by 30% when maxed out and reduces damage taken by 6% per nearby enemy. As always, I don't like this effect because when you're only facing the boss, it's not that useful. But for example, with Queen Kanaloa, she constantly summons enemies, so it's kind of fine. But unfortunately, you don't take advantage of this in VR, so yeah, the disadvantage. And also, it's only limited to range attacks, which is not that great to have a UR that is limited to one side of the spectrum, but I mean, if you want to use it, it's fine. Also, it has an extra passive that increases damage of ally machine type characters by 16%. This is really abusable. And the active snares enemies, all enemies, for 10 seconds. So yeah, this is pretty valuable, even if you don't like that much the main passive. Then, yes, Eleanor. Prophet Eleanor is really good for crit compositions. I mean, the weapon is way better than the supporter, but the supporter is not bad. So if you want to get this next time that she has her run, do so. Do get this. So, what does she do? Increases damage dealt to all enemies by 8% proportionate to the number of enemies affected by wet status. So for each enemy that has wet, you're going to get 8% more damage. You say, well, but I don't have wet. Wait. There's going to be a thing. There's going to be an effect. Let's continue. Increases critical rate of all attacks by 26%. That's really nice because it's not restrictive to one side of the spectrum. All your attacks get critical chance. Nice. Then passive. 30% of damage. Deals 30% of damage and apply wet status for 5 seconds to one random enemy target every 4 seconds. Has a 50% chance to apply wet status to additional 4 enemies. So yeah, that's really good because constantly you're gonna get a damage increase for, it says, apply wet status for 5 seconds to one random enemy every 4 seconds. So actually, if there are 2 enemies, for 1 second, guaranteed you're gonna have like 16% damage increase and then 8% again. But every now and then there's a chance to afflict more enemies. So yeah, basically you do get a damage increase. It's not like very big, but you constantly get it, so it's appreciated, and the critical rate is also good. And it also reduces the speed of the enemy by 20% for 8 seconds with the active, so it is nice to have. Let's see. We also have, I think that's kind of it. Yeah, as I mentioned, there aren't many options. If I'm missing a supporter, that gives critical rate on critical damage or critical rate on green, on red, you can let me know in the comments. So yeah, which is the combination that you want to use most times? So basically you want to use either any critical rate supporter that you have, like Eleanor, for example. My favorite to use is Eleanor because she's going to work on both sides of the spectrum. She's going to give you damage increase, and she's going to debuff the enemy. That's one thing. Then you're gonna use basically Barretta. Barretta is like the generic option, and then you use whatever else you can to increase your damage. You can go with another critical supporter, or you can go with a generic damage supporter. So let's do a run very quickly. With which character? Yeah, Spinel sounds about right. The question is, do I have like a build? I think this one, yes, with critical. I'm just going to change the this. I'm going to put Boulder. This is fine because this effect is actually good. And Rampage increases, knockback. I prefer to go actually with this, with the basic enhancer. So what are we going to put in the main? Of course we're going to be putting Eleanor, because I told you the debuffing part is really good. Then we're going to be putting Barretta, if I can find her, yes. And lastly, you can equip whatever you want, as I mentioned. There aren't many damage, critical damage supporters. I mean, I could go with this, but as I mentioned, it's just 40% on crits. And I'm not going to be taking that much advantage of it, out of it. You can go with something simple as Shirayuki. You can also go with something like, where is she? Suzune, yes, because this makes a really good combo next to Eleanor, thanks to the debuff that she's applying. Basically, the enemy is always going to be debuff, so that's fine. So yeah, defense reduction, a big amount of damage with increased critical rate. So yeah, I'm almost guaranteed to crit. So, and yes, this one is going to be also very useful to deal with the mobs. So let's do it. I'm going to go very quickly for my charger because this thing is blinking and I don't want the controller to get disconnected. Perfect, there we go. Yes. So let's get started. Yeah, this is gonna be super easy. I just have to do my basics. And as you can see, I am critting most of the time. And look at the huge amount of damage. I mean, Spinel already has a very high attack, so it's pretty easy to just delete the enemies. Yeah, I love this basic attack to deal with the enemies, with the mobs. So I debuff, and unfortunately he had invincibility frames. And deleted, almost, there. You see, critical rate is a very, very viable strategy because red supporters are really, really aggressive. So you're gonna easily eliminate everyone. I'm going to use the active 2. And... oh no! That was bad. Well, At least I have enough damage to kill it with the basics. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty simple. Now let's go with another one. This time is gonna be Felicia. As I mentioned, you can abuse the fact that she's a demon. So I'm gonna put this, and I'm going to equip, of course, Orochinagi. I'm gonna put Vampiric Zone because that's how we're gonna heal. And here comes the interesting part. What do I want? Reduce the enemy's damage? No. This is a good skill, but I don't want to use it after Orochinagi. I guess I'll keep the basic enhancer. So yeah, in this case, instead of Eleanor, we're gonna go with Anaros. Yep, that's the name. And as usual, as always, we're using her. Barretta. Barretta is kind of the Surugan for red. You always put it in a critical composition, or the Kaworu. Those two, you put either or on a composition, of both of them. So let's see, who else? For options. That's the thing. I don't want to use this because I'm not debuffing that much. I mean, I am, but not as abusive as before because I don't have Prophet Eleanor. I don't want to use this because I have the basic enhancer. So, yeah. I could actually use this because of the amount of multi-hits that I do with my basics. Or this one. I'll use this just because. Yeah, it has HP increase. So, let's go with that. And let's put I don't have this on red, do I? Well, I'm not gonna change the color. I'm just gonna put it in blue. So, let's go. The weapons are the weapons that I always use. They are 5 out of 5. But the weapons are kind of important. It's evade. As you can see, the damage is huge. I'm gonna go back to the character screen in a moment, but there we go. Let's see, I position myself properly and shred the enemies. Unfortunately, that was a bad spot to do my skill. Basic. The problem with with the stun, for those who do not know, is that it won't. Well, at least I don't see it taking effect when the enemy has super armor. So, yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, with a million damage on this skill, it's really easy to erase the enemies. So that's part of the thing. Like, there's a bunch of enemies a bunch of skills which have on red the what's the command? The critical buff. So you want to increase your critical rate. That's why we have not like a ton of options, but we do have options for critical rate increase on red. Let me show you. I didn't show the weapons for both the characters, but as usual, 5 out of 5 both of them, plus 14, plus 10, critical Magatamas. And the important part is that Orochinagi has critical damage increased by 250%. That's why we want to increase that critical rate, to guarantee that we take advantage of the effect in the skill. Which was the other one? Let's see. It was I don't even remember. Ah, yeah, Spinel. Let's check very quickly Spinel. Spinel's red skill. What does this offer? Critical rate increase, which is also appreciated. In fact, you could change the Susune for another supporter. Let's see. We're gonna use Asteroth too because Asteroth red is fun. So I'm just gonna equip this. 5 out of 5. These actually are maxed out. Completely maxed out because Asteroth is my main. So let's see. For red, Asteroth. She's completely ranged, so we can actually use this. But we don't want to use it in the main because it offers little value since Asteroth is not a machine. So I'm going to increase my critical rate. And I'm going to put Barretta. We always use Barretta on critical, guys. We always do. And I'm going to use Curry just cause I'm gonna be dealing with a bunch of enemies. So let's see. So Hellblaze, super important. This AOE is super great and critical damage increase by 250%. So yeah, we really want to guarantee those crits. And this is a multi-hit skill. So it is very valuable that we increase the critical hits because each one of these is going to receive the critical rate increase. Let's see. Satellite, reduce damage taken. Reduce the target's defense. I'm going to use lava. Since Hellblaze requires me to be in a mid-range position, I'm going to use Fire Wave. If it was something like Serpent Blaze, I always use Fire Wave because I like Fire Wave more than Fire Blast because it hits more enemies and Fire Blast only hits once per ball. So yeah, I'm gonna use Fire Wave. There's a bunch of reasons why I do so. So the supporters, the weapon, and the skills. Let's see how good this is. I mean, I know it's good. And especially since Kururi is going to increase my damage, as you can see. I just need to position myself properly so that the enemies get near. Come on. Oh, come. No. You evil. Oh, phew. I got another stack. Nice. Look at that. Look at that. Come on. There. And I'm going to do... well, whenever I have it. But don't move! You dumb. Okay. I eliminated him on time. Let's see. Another one. There. Good to have super armor. So yeah, everything is deleted. As simple as that. Yeah, the big AoE really helps out with multiple enemies. You see why red is so good? Well, I'm using characters that give critical damage on the red effect. Let me use something that gives skill damage. Let's see. I don't remember. I think this one gives critical rate, which is, as I mentioned, it is also very good. No, it's a skill damage. So we're gonna go with Rin just to finish. Volt Rush. Volt Rush is fine, but Volt Spin is not fine. Increase damage dealt. Yep, we want Denki instead. So for hair, I am using... what kind of skills are these? This is melee, support melee. So in this case, you could use the SR. Who? Rinka? I think that I will use Spica. Since I don't have means of HP recovery, And it's very good to rely on what's the name? On invincibility to just deal a ton of damage. Here we have the critical rate increase. Oh, wait a moment. Did I put the Magatamas? Nope. Okay. I put Magatamas. And with this, everything is maxed out. Except this weapon. I think it's 3 out of 5. Yeah. So, since this is not maxed out, I do need maybe a little bit more critical rate. Like, maybe I use this. Where is she? Where is she? Spica. And I'm going to use another critical rate increase supporter. Let's see. I cannot use that one. I could use this one. But since I don't have enough copies, I won't. And so I'll use this one because it's generally good. But I'm not getting the damage increase. It's just a free hour on red right now. And of course, Barretta. Yeah. And let's go with a red custom. And yeah, I think that's it. Everything in order. Yep. Super. Wait a moment. Did I see? Yeah, Chain Bolt. No. I forgot to. Volt Spin, no. Denki. Yeah. I forgot that I changed the build to put the Magatamas. So, very quickly. This is going to destroy the enemy super easily. It's mid attack. Immediately before an enemy attack. Uh-oh. I put Soaring Swallow. You see? Even though I checked, I forgot to change this one. Volt Rush, not Soaring Swallow. So, one more time. Ideally you want to start evading, but I didn't want to. And I'm gonna do it again. So, I do this to debuff all the enemies, I evade, and then I use the big AOE attack to defeat everyone else. Well, almost everyone else. And you can see the amount of crits that I do. It's just absurd. Perfect. So now, I evade, I gain distance. Evade, and there. Nice. Now, I need to save the critical, no, the invincibility, because the other Edwin has more bosses with him, so there, almost, come on, there. Nice. So the first thing that I'm going to do is evade, and then I use invincibility, and then I use the red attack, Volt Whip, invincibility, Volt Whip, and then I use Volt Rush to defeat both mid bosses, I guess. Nice. Okay, that's not good, especially with Rin. Okay, easy peasy. As you can see, even without HP recovery, you can do it because Speak is that good. And besides, the damage is just absurd in this case. Remember that depending on your awakening skills, on your stats, on your level, the performance is going to be different. So, critical builds are meant to be used when you can just erase the enemy. If you cannot, and you don't have HP recovery, it's gonna be super bad. Even if you have HP recovery, if you don't have enough damage reduction, it's gonna be really risky. So be mindful about that whenever you do your builds. So that's about it for this build. Do you know, for these tips, do you know any other red supporters that you can use, or other supporters in general that you can use on these strategies. I mean, of course, there's the option to use generic damage increase supporters, but there's also the option of do mixed builds. So what else would you combine with these red supporters, with two of these red supporters, Barretta and a critical rate increaser, to maximize your damage, and on what build? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!